Today, I'm going to share probably the most personal story I've ever told on the internet. I am going to share the story of the moment where I woke up and I realized that the life that I had built, y'all, the life that I have worked so hard for over a decade, the successful life that I had built wasn't created by me, right? And I'm also going to talk about how I then started the long, messy, and beautiful journey of taking it back. This is my story of reclamation. I feel like I've always been someone who likes to get things done, right? I like execution. I love discipline. I love when things make sense, right? I'm a very direct person. Like, if you give me clear direction, I will get it done. And for a really long time, the blueprint for life was handed to me. If you think of, when you were in school, they would give you a syllabus at the beginning of your class. I felt like I was given a syllabus for life, and I was told this is what you're supposed to do to have a good life. And to me, it made sense, right? I was told to go to school, get the job, build the career, hit the milestones, and it was a very clear path. And I even remember I even had role models of people I was supposed to look up to. I remember when I came to America, I was 13 years old. My mom sat me down on the couch and she pointed at the TV, and it was Oprah. Oprah was on the TV and she was like, this is your role model. This is who you're supposed to be like, right? My mom had very high expectations for me. My entire family did, because I've always been a really good student and people always thought that I would go far. So I followed the path that I was told to follow. I walked that path. I was always so focused on the next step because, like I said earlier, I'm a high achiever. I love to get things done. I love to execute. You give me a plan, I will get it done. And so I was given a plan for my life and I was getting it done. It was step by step by step. I was extremely laser focused on achieving the next thing that was on the checklist, that I never really stopped, you guys, to ask if I was on the right path for me. Never. I think the closest I ever got to doing that was in college, but even then, it was very short lived. And so on the outside, it was working, right? I was getting the applause, like everyone was really proud of me. My mom just loved to talk about me. My dad loved to tell all of his friends how amazing I was. I was the child that everyone was really proud of. On the outside, I looked great, but on the inside, something did feel wrong. I never stopped to ask what it was, but I realize now that the feeling that I was feeling on the inside, it was a feeling of feeling disempowered. Like, I feel like I was being influenced to do these things, to want these things that weren't necessarily coming from the core of me. And I'm not saying all of it was not me, because a lot of it was, but I wasn't approaching it in a way that felt authentic to me. The best way to explain this to you, I felt like I was a puppet and someone else was pulling the strings, but it wasn't an invisible string. So I didn't know that I was a puppet. I convinced myself that I wanted these things, but really looking back, it was really just someone else pulling the strings and making me do things and making me live a certain life that I don't know if I would have chosen if I was the one that was in control, if I was the one creating my own life. I think ultimately what I'm trying to say is I was not the main character in my own life. I mean, I was the one living my life, but I was not the one writing the script. After everything was done, I remember during COVID, I had gotten this six-figure job for the first time in my life. I was living in my own apartment by myself. It was a luxury apartment. I had moved to a completely new city. I was living a brand new life and everything felt so amazing. Like I should be happy because this is everything I've ever dreamed of. And, my head was telling me you should be happy. Look at all you have. Look at all you've accomplished. Everyone who visited my apartment was so like impressed, like, wow, you're living in this nice place. But my heart, my soul, it was just silent. It was unimpressed. My soul did not care about the money, the luxury apartment, the career, none of it. It was just, I felt like there was this deep part of me that was just screaming for attention, that was just really telling me to stop ignoring it. And it was just in the background of all of my life, it was just this hum. it was a tiny, small voice that was telling me, this can't be all there is to life. Life can't just be about checking off to-do lists. Life can't just be about, achieving things and being successful in this way. There has to be a deeper purpose to all of this. Like, there is a purpose that you came here to accomplish. There is a natural gift that you have, and you're using some of it. I feel like I did use some of it because as an attorney, I have to read, I have to write, I have to communicate, and I do believe part of my purpose is to be a messenger of some sort, and that's why I love doing these YouTube videos. But I was told that that's all there is to it, right? I don't regret anything that's ever happened to me. I'm grateful to have chosen the career that I chose, because if it was up to my parents, I would have been a doctor, right? So in college, I decided to be a lawyer. That was only probably the only time in my life where I felt like I was able to make my own decisions in that way. But I was told, like, you get the career, you work every single day, and that was it. And I really feel like that was not it for me. That's why I do these YouTube videos, because I feel like if it was up to me, I would also have a creative outlet, right? If it was up to me, there would be other ways that I would be using my gift. It wouldn't just be practicing law. It would be doing things that changes people's lives. And so back in 2024, um, January 2024, around that time, um, it happened, right? I had what I now know was a spiritual awakening. I did not know what a spiritual awakening was when I had it. But I had went on Google and Googled exactly what was happening, and everyone was saying, you had a spiritual awakening. But I'll tell you exactly what happened, right? It was probably a Saturday morning. I woke up. It was a whole weekend. I was by myself, and it felt like I was in an alternate reality. It felt like I was in a different world. I don't know. It felt like I was in a dream, right? And I don't know what shifted the night before that day, but I sat up and I woke up and I sat up in my bed, and I had this thought, right? It was a very clear thought. And I looked around at my room. I looked around at my life, and I just thought, hmm, did I choose this? Did I actually choose any of this? And the answer was so clear to me that some of it, but most of it, not really. I didn't. It was like there was a veil. I understand now what people mean when they say we're living in a matrix, because that's what it felt like. It felt like there was this illusion, there was this thing that was blinding me. I couldn't see. And that veil was lifted, and I was able to see everything for what it really was for the first time ever. And the illusion was no longer there, and I could see so clearly that I was not living my life. I was living a version of a life that had been programmed into me, and it's a programming that happened when I was really young. Like I told y'all, it started when I was in the second grade. And it was a programming that was installed inside of me. If you think of a computer, when you download something in it, like a programming, I feel like that happened to me when I was really young, from my family, from society, just from different experiences that I've had. And I got confused. I convinced myself that this programming was my choice. That the thoughts that I was thinking were my thoughts, that those desires that I had were my desires, that those dreams that I had were my dreams. But I realized a lot of them were not. That voice in my head that told me that I wasn't good enough, right? Someone put that there. Like, if I'm being completely honest, I think I'm the ish. I think I'm a Leo, for God's sake, okay? We're known to be pretty confident. And when I look in the mirror, I love what I see. But then I would hear this thought that kept telling me that I wasn't good enough. Who put that there? Because it can't be me. And I was able to see that so clearly for the first time ever in my life. Someone put those thoughts there. And that's when I was like, oh my gosh, I can't even trust the thoughts in my own head, because they're not even really mine. That's how deep that programming was installed inside of me. And so I felt like my authentic self was lost, right? Because no one was born thinking they weren't good enough. No one was born thinking something was wrong with them. It was at a really early age, before you could tell the difference, before you can talk back, before you can defend yourself. That story was inherited, and that belief system was planted. And I feel like a lot of us, we inherit so much crap that don't even belong to us. It doesn't just happen when we're kids. I think even as adults, we're told things that aren't true and we accept it to be true, even though it's not. And so in that moment, that day, it was so clear to me. I knew that the life I was living was not a true reflection of me. It was a reflection of my programming, a reflection of what everyone else wanted for me. And it wasn't always a reflection of what I wanted for myself. And so I literally went to Google. I typed in things like, what does it mean when you realize your life isn't really yours? Like I was like Googling things like that. And I fell down this rabbit hole and I saw the term spiritual awakening. And I thought, okay, I guess that's what this is. For me, based on my experience, having a spiritual awakening is waking up to the truth of your own life, being able to see it for what it is without the veils and the things that sometimes hides the truth from us. And that's how we are now going to talk about the reclamation, right? Because that moment began what I now call my journey of reclamation. I think it's like when something is stolen from you and you're trying to get it back. That is what a reclamation is. You're trying to take something that was taken away from you. It's also called restoration. I like the word reclamation because it just feels a lot more empowering, like I'm claiming what is mine yet again. Okay. And I want to be really clear about this. I did not have to blow up my life, right? I did not have to move to India to a monastery, even though I really wanted to. I really wanted to have like a whole eat, pray, love type of experience. If you've never watched that movie and you're on this journey with me, that's going to be one of those movies you want to watch. But it's one of my top 10 favorite movies to watch. I watch it at least once a year. But I wanted to have that experience where I completely ran away from my whole life and start over. And I thought that's what it had to look like, right? But in my experience, I realized that you don't have to blow up your whole life to change it. Sometimes it's quiet, right? Sometimes the change happens internally first. It's an internal shift that happens. The best way I can describe it is with this metaphor that came to me. It's like, imagine you have a house. It's a beautiful house, right? The deed is in your name. Like, this is your home that you own. It has always been your home. But when you were really, really young, other people just kind of came in and they started living there and they started making decisions, right? As if it was their house. They started rearranging the furniture the way they wanted it to look like. And you just kind of went along with it because you didn't know any better. And now your house is full of other people's beliefs, other people's fears, other people's rules, and you're living in one tiny little room and you're thinking the whole house belonged to them. And so reclamation is the process of realizing, wait a second, this is my house. This is my life. This is mine. It belongs to me. Like, this is my house. Like, honestly, sometimes it's as simple as just the awareness that this is my life, right? And so reclamation is the process of standing up and saying respectfully, but firmly, okay, I need all of you to get the heck out of my house, right? And it's kicking out the inherited beliefs that were never yours, the negative thinking that was never yours, the limited beliefs that were never yours. It's taking back ownership of your own mind, right? It's deciding how you want the furniture to be arranged, how you want your house to look like, what color do you want it painted. It's being able to make the decisions for your own life the way you want to and not having to answer to anybody unless you want to, right? Unless it's a conscious decision that you're making. And for me, this has been a journey back to self-mastery, a journey of reclaiming my personal power. It's about learning to listen to my own voice again, finding it and then listening to it and then trust it. It's about tapping into the natural gifts and the talents that I came here with, right? Instead of always trying to fix something, instead of always trying to fix my weaknesses. It's the daily, messy, so messy sometimes, but beautiful work of becoming the owner of my own life again. Okay, so That's my story, or at least the beginning of it. There's so many details I'm not telling you guys, but that's the big picture. I'm sharing this because I know I'm not the only one. I know that there are many of you out there who have also checked all the boxes, who may also be successful on paper, but you feel that same emptiness that I felt. My journey has been about moving from a life that looked good on the outside, or that just looked good on the outside because, it still looks good on the outside, but to building one that also feels good on the inside. It's the journey from being not just successful, but fulfilled, right? And I don't have all the answers, not even close. I am a student, yet very much so a student. But I am committed. I don't know anyone else who's as committed as I am to walking this path. And I'm committed to sharing what I'm learning and what I've learned. So I want to leave you with the question that started all of this for me. Okay. I want you to take a quiet moment, either today or whenever you have some time. And I want to ask you, and I want you to ask yourself, whose house are you living in? If your body, if your life was a house, whose house are you living in? Who's making the decisions in that house? Who decorated that house, right? I would love to hear what your answers are. Definitely, if you want to continue this conversation in the comments, I would love to hear your story. If my story resonated with you in any way, I do invite you to subscribe and join me on this journey. This show is going to be our space to explore that question, to figure out together how we can all come home to ourselves again, right? This is going to be a show for my seekers. If you're someone who isn't satisfied with surface level answers to your questions, you want to go deeper, this is going to feel like home to you. So I'm very excited. Promise you guys in the next video, we're going to go into more practical steps that you can take on this path. It would be a wonderful way for us to connect if I started by sharing my story and what my journey has been like. Thank you so much for listening if you're on the podcast, or for watching if you're on YouTube. And I would love to see you guys in the next video. And I would love to see your comments. And again, don't forget to like and subscribe. See you next time.